We're going to talk today about AI in modern Australia, but I'd like you to introduce yourself to the audience. Can you tell us the role you perform at Telstra?
Yeah, so I am the Data and AI Executive at Telstra. My role is internal to Telstra, looking at Telstra's data protection, data management, data platforms, as well as making that data accessible for people to use in all sorts, like their insights and then into AI as well. So what are the AI solutions that we're building across Telstra to create value?
And you told me in a previous discussion that Telstra's big goal is to be an AI-fueled organisation. So I'm really keen to understand what that entails.
Yeah, so AI fueled for us means that there is AI being used in all of our products, all of our processes, all of our services, all of our decision making. And that it becomes part of what we do. And that doesn't mean replacing people with AI. It means that every person within Telstra is working side by side with AI, which puts a lot of pressure and a lot of demand on us to get all of our data into the shape that it needs to be into, get all of the AI tools and processes into the shape that they need to be into, and get all of our people really fluent in working with AI.
And yet I can imagine in an organisation as large and as complex as Telstra, getting data all tied up and together for an AI model would strike me as a huge undertaking.
Yeah, it is. I think, there's been a lot of work done in the last few years, certainly after some big data breaches happened in Australia and around the world, where, really knowing where all of our data is so that we are protecting it and securing it. So that's a big start, all of our data being catalogued. But yeah, it is, big complex organizations with complex IT kind of ecosystems. We are, as many organizations are, in a process of simplification and across all of the IT platforms. And with complex IT platforms comes complex data and data pipelines and data flows and data movement that goes along with that. So yes, we do have a complex IT and data ecosystem. So it means that anyone with this idea about what that they can get value from this data, or they need this insight, or they want to automate something, it has meant going all the way back down through the stack, finding where that data is. So a big part of becoming an AI-fueled organisation for us is very much the simplification and modernisation of our data ecosystem. So all of the tech that underpins it, as well then as making that data secure and protected, and then the right data accessible to the right people to be able to go after that value.
Dayle, when we spoke, you were also talking to me about focusing in on what are the priorities for the organizations, rather than trying to boil the ocean, try to sort of simplify that data where it's going to be most applicable in helping the business fulfill what its outcomes are. Could you explain a bit that?
Well, when you've got a really big task ahead of you, then you need some way to prioritize. So prioritization then, one way that we had done that in the past is really looking at what is the roadmap for the IT systems being decommissioned. So when are they going to be decommissioned? Because then that's the easiest path for us to simplify the data that sits around that. But that isn't always the path to where the value for the organisation is, or whether, it's a very IT lens-led kind of view about how you go after simplifying data. So we've looked at where is the value, where is the business strategy, where's that going, so that to run that prioritisation effectively.
Can you give me a feeling of what those priorities were then?
So definitely at Telstra, our priorities are, productivity, efficiency of our staff. Our main, the Telstra's two, big main things that we think about is definitely customer experience and network resilience. Like, they are the two things that matter the most, right? And so how are we lining up behind those has been really important. But an example I would give you, like, to just make it really practical, is in the last year we've built a tool called Ask Telstra. So it's a generative AI model. It's looking at knowledge management. So looking at all of the internal knowledge management documents and stuff we have. Now, if you think about how would I replace an intranet search capability for all of our staff, that means all staff, all purposes, all personas that sit in our organisation, and all knowledge that we hold. Like, that's a really big task. but we went after our frontline staff. So we went after our frontline staff, so the people in stores and in our contact centres that are talking to customers and trying to solve customer problems. And we find like we went into that kind of specialised area for those roles and that purpose and that kind of knowledge that they need. Then what is the data that they need to be able to service that up? So it's our product and pricing and procedure type manuals. And so instead of looking at everything and for everyone inside Telstra, it was really specific to frontline staff. And so getting that to work and working out what data we needed to clean up and everything that we needed to do around that, then we've got all of these learnings to say, okay, now if we're going to go into whatever the next persona might be, then we've got, we know how we've approached it, we know what works and what doesn't, but it's a different set of uses, people and questions are going to be asked, and they're going to be asking, looking for a different set of data that we sit on. So that's an example of how that's played out.
You also spoke to me about customer experience is an important thing for priority for Telstra. You talked about another use of AI to help those contact people respond quicker to customers. Can you tell us a bit about that?
So yeah, one is Ask Telstra, and that is being able to get the information, when you're talking to a contact centre staff and they're like, I just have to look up the manual or run out and talk to their manager and ask a question. We've really fast tracked that. Another one that we've built is called One Sentence Summary. And what that's looking at is call transcripts. So the last couple of weeks, if Peter Hind calls up and is like, whenever you call in, they're like, hang on, I'm just reading the case notes or whatever, then those call transcripts are really hard to read. And so One Sentence Summary scans through all of those and comes up with, a really short, concise summary of what the customer will be calling about to help the call centre staff get to the point really quickly. We did a pilot of that in Canberra around the ACT, and got such amazing feedback that we very, very quickly we've rolled it out to all of our contact centre staff now. So they've all said that like overwhelming positive feedback about what a difference it makes for them.
And the importance I'm hearing there, Dayle, is actually you're getting traction for AI, which builds confidence in the business, which rather than sort of trying to tackle everything, you're honing in your resources on areas where you can get a positive experience that you can develop.
Yeah, it's a great, clearly if you're a customer asking a question or calling up with a problem and you get a faster response, then that's a better customer experience. The customers themselves aren't directly interacting with AI. It's our staff that are interacting with AI to be able to try to, get a better experience for our customers. And then for all of our frontline staff, it's a really easy way for them to interact with AI to make their roles better. We had in our employee engagement surveys for those frontline staff, one of the highest, pieces of feedback, negative pieces of feedback was their access to knowledge. Like, how do they get their hands on the information quicker? And this is like a massive game changer for how they do that. So, customer experience and then staff satisfaction is great.
And yet there's an exuberance about AI. I mean, you can't turn on the mainstream news and not find some AI story that's dominating. How do you contain that sort of exuberance, but sort of harness it?
Well, it's not free to run with AI, certainly not free to run with AI inside your cybersecurity guardrails with all of your protected data to be able to build, leverage the tools that are out there. It's not, we are not just logging onto some internet-facing kind of system to do this. We are pulling it inside our cybersecurity walls, making sure it's all safe and secure. So it's not free. So then being able to make wise choices on what we invest in for what purpose and what value outcome we get to goes a bit back to kind of, traditional business cases where you know how much it's going to cost you and what the benefits are going to be, and you manage towards that. There is a bit of unknown with AI. Sometimes it's not that perfectly calculated business case. There's a bit of conviction that we need to, there's an opportunity here we need to push into, but then we have quite strong stage gates. If we don't have that perfectly calculated business case, we need to have strong stage gates along the way to make sure that, we are going to get to a good outcome on this, not just have fun exploring with AI. But so then it's also really exuberance is weighed up with people being really aware of the risk and the things that can go wrong. I think as much as there is in the media about how, the opportunities with AI, there is even more in the media about the risks and the problems with AI. And so that we, as much as we have a practice is all about how are we going to build out AI and, become an AI fueled organization, a big part of that is responsible scaling at the same time. So we have, Telstra is very much was part of the federal government's, first people to sign on in the pilot for the responsible AI principles. We work with the GSMA, so the global mobile industry, we co-authored the AI for Good playbook and what the responsible AI principles are for the mobile industry. And we are working with government and other industry peers and everyone else, like quite openly and transparently trying to share and help and learn from each other about how we responsibly scale AI in Australia and beyond.
You're talking there also, Dayle, about how Telstra is in a sort of ecosystem with other people. And because I can imagine Telstra is a critical supplier to lots of other organizations. And I hear from data professionals that saying you've got to think broadly about your tasks, not just confine yourself to your own environment, see how you can interact and work with others. You told me beforehand about an interesting project you're doing with the Commonwealth Bank. Could you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so Telstra has a joint venture with Quantium, so one of Australia's leading data science organisations. And so Quantium, Telstra, and then Commonwealth Bank collaborated on something called Scam Indicator. And what it is, financial institutions, most people, unfortunately, have had some kind of fraud happening on their credit card at some stage, and quite often the bank notices it before you do when they block your card or they call you to say, hey, do you notice this transaction? So financial institutions have lots of indicators of fraud. Telcos do as well. So, people swapping SIMs within certain periods of time, or just long phone calls with people that you've never spoken to before. Like there's all sorts of indicators that happen in telco as well, multi-factor authentication, all of those kind of things. So both industries hold data and indicators that can indicate fraud is happening. And so by hooking those up, not data sharing in a way, but by being able to connect via APIs, then between us, we've been able to prevent more fraud. So when someone is on a call about to make a payment to someone that is scamming them, then that data coming together can say, this doesn't look quite right, and prevent that scam from happening.
Okay. So that really probably gives you hope then that you can be a force for good in AI in the world.
It does. And it does. And what I really love about it is that, there's some cross-industry collaboration trying to look at how we can, help people. And that we're trying to find ways, no one wants to share their data, and, protecting and securing your data is really important. And that we've found a way to be able to bring those data sets or bring those data sets together without actually bringing the data sets together to be able to we've there's been there was a lot of hurdles to get over to make this work. So that's what I really love about this one, cross industry, solving some problems that are too hard to solve. So, and all of it to create a great outcome for people where there's much less fraud happening.